All right. Good evening, everybody. And my name is Yelena, and I'm a Watson Analytics administrator and one of the teaching assistants in the data analytics program. The purpose of today's meeting is to help you get started with using Watson Analytics. So here is an agenda for tonight, and it's going to be a long one. So first of all, I'm going to introduce you to what Watson Analytics is, and then I'm going to briefly go over what you need to do to get started, right? So most of you, or if not all of you, received the Watson Analytics invitation yesterday. So after this class is over, after this meeting, I would like you to go back, if you have not done it already, go back to your inbox. If you don't see the invitation, check your junk mail, right? And I'm going to give you some information on the course that you need to take. And we're going to go over the 3Ds of Watson Analytics. And I'll show you how to refine your data and how to build the predictive model and how to present your findings. And also, I'll show you some useful resources. So let's go ahead and get started. So what is Watson Analytics? Basically, it helps the business understand their data, and basically you may enter your human language questions, and it's going to provide you with some options. It's very user-friendly, it's very intuitive, and it's unbiased analysis, and also minimum learning curve. So for tonight, I'm going to need a volunteer. Could somebody count how many lines of code I will have written over this entire night? Right, so exactly, we don't need any programming knowledge. And here is the link. You're going to have a copy of the slides once the presentation is over. So here is the link where you can watch a very interesting video, Smart Data Discovery. Now, keep going. As many of you remember, there is a game, right, Jeopardy game, that goes, I believe, 5 nights per week. And back in 2011, Watson developed a smart computer who won the game. Watson machine was playing the game with 2 contestants. And how did it beat them? Well, so that started the whole story of Watson Analytics. And at your leisure, you may want to watch this video, these 2. You're going to like this. So now let's move on. Oops. So I mentioned that you'll need to accept an invitation email. After this class is over, if you have not done so, please go check your email. And I used your email address in Leo. And what you'll need to do is, in your classroom, you have instructions on how to do it. So basically, this is an email, this is a screenshot of an email, and the email is going to have an accept button. You just click on it, and it will redirect you to the browser, and you'll need to enter your first name, last name, and your password. You're going to make up your password. You're going to create one, right? Alternatively, you can just copy and paste this link at the bottom, right? So next slide. This slide is about the course that you need to take. You're going to put this web page in a browser, and what you'll need to do is you need to create a free account at Big Data University. It's totally free. Then you're going to enroll into Watson Analytics 101 course. This course is self-paced, and you may watch the videos as many times as you need. But there are several modules, and each module concludes with a little quiz. The quiz is timeless, and at the end you have an exam. Now, what you need to do is you need to get an average 70% to pass the course. You have a 1-hour limit for the test. You have 2 attempts for multiple choice question, 1 attempt for true and false. Well, if you don't pass in 1 attempt, not a big deal. I have a solution for that. So if it happens to you, contact me and I'll tell you what to do. While you're taking the test, stay away from the browser back button. Stay away from the browser back button. And do not forget to submit the test before 1 hour elapses. This is very important because if you don't submit the test, you don't get points for the questions that you answered. All right. So now, and I would strongly recommend you to start it tomorrow night and maybe do a couple chapters per day, something like that. Now, this is a landing page. After you accepted, login page rather, after you accepted Watson Analytics invitation, it needs to be done only once. This is a login page, and you're gonna click on sign in, right? It will take you to this screen. Your IBM ID is basically an email address where you received your invitation. A password is a password that you're gonna make it up at the time when you accept an invitation. Passwords are case sensitive, all right? If you forgot your password, not a big deal. I believe the instructions for password reset are in the classroom, or you can always contact me. I'll have the instructions for you. Next, this is a landing page, and I'm going to switch to an application shortly, but first I'll go through a few slides. So here you're gonna see 3Ds of Watson Analytics, and I'm going to go over it more in detail. But what I want you to remember is that this is a workflow. We are going to upload the data, then we're going to build our models on the data that we upload, and then we're going to present our findings, right? So 3Ds: data, discover, display. Upload the data, do some data pre-processing if necessary. We build some models, and we present our findings, right? And I will show you what I'm talking about. But first, this is very important, and keep this picture in mind. As we are using this application, we are going to stay away from the browser back button. Just imagine that you don't have it. You're going to use the menu to navigate through application. Never use the back button because it may lead to unexpected results, like page not loading properly, page not updated, and more, right? Now, and I'm gonna show you that as well. The application has a very rich help menu. You can basically just go into the help menu, read, and you can watch the videos just to learn more about the application, right? And I'll show you everything in details. And this is the 3Ds that I mentioned. We add the data, we build the model, and we display our findings, right? So let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to switch to application now. Share my screen. All right. So when you log in, right, what you'll see is you're gonna see 3 tiles here: data, discover, display. You're not gonna see this data. You can see that I already did some work here, right? What you will see is that you will see the sample data set, sample product sales. So here, you will not see other users, but you will see 2 folders, personal and shared. Very important, you need to use the Watson Analytics account that I created for you, because when we get to the last assignment, we will be sharing files with the classmates, right? You have a group project. The only way you can share files with your classmates, and if you use my subscription, Watson Analytics Professional, that I signed you up for, right? So, personal area has the files that you created. Only you can see them, and of course, myself, right? Shared is based on the permissions, but I promise I will show you everything as we get there. So, start from the data tile. Data tile, we use it to upload the data, right? So what I do here is I click on new data, and let me show you where the data sources are. We can import. Here is a sample data. Watson Analytics provides several data sets for us that we can use just to play around with. And in fact, if you look at the videos on the YouTube channel on Watson Analytics, they mostly use this sample data set. So to import, you would just need to click on the data set you like, and you're going to click import. And as you do that, the tile will be added to your personal area. Now notice that, make sure that I have data active. Data, and here are all my data sets, right, that I have uploaded. Notice that you see a little globe spinning. It means that Watson Analytics is processing your data. It's trying to find the relationship between the data variables, right? So you might be wondering what data looks like. It's a spreadsheet. So I have a copy of the slides here. Basically, at some point, your data was a spreadsheet, right? So here, this is what I did. I went to new data, and then I went to the sample data set. I selected the data set that I'm interested in, and I clicked on import, right? So here is basically showing me, this is another way to get data, is to get it from your local file. So to do that, what you would need to do is do this new data, right, local file, and then you can just drag and drop. You can just drag and drop this file into this area, or you can click browse, right? So we went over this. Now I'm gonna go ahead and hit cancel for now. There is another source of data that you could use. Let me show you something. You're gonna have access to the shared area, right? Oops, this is something what not to do. This is something what not to do. You should not be saving files to the root of the shared folder. Never do this. Always save your files to the personal area. Always save files to the personal area, or eventually, when we get to the group work, you'll be saving it to the designated area for your group, because anything that gets saved here will be deleted. Since in our system we have more than 300 users, we need to follow the rules, right? And now here it is. This is the root of shared folder. I'm expanding it. What you will see is everybody has a read-only access to this folder, more sample data sets. You will have an access, I didn't want to open it, but anyway, you have an access to these data sets, right? I uploaded these data sets for you to use. So they do not come automatically with Watson Analytics, but I pulled them up from the web, and these data sets are free to use for academic purposes. So suppose that I want to use this data set, right? This is what you'll need to do. You would need to click on this ellipsis. You would need to click on refine, right? Clicking on refine will open the data set in the preview mode. Well, view and edit, because you can apply the filters here. So what you need to do is you need to save it as a copy. See this? Save as. Your access to that folder is read-only. In order to use this data, you have to save as, right? And now in the pop-up window, you want to select personal, right? It means that you're saving it to your personal area. So now keep this in mind. Personal, it's yours. Shared is based on the permissions that an administrator set up, right? So you will have the folder with additional data files, and when the time comes, you will also have a folder for your group. I will set it up, but when the time comes. Now, while this is saving, here I'm going over, right? Here I'm showing you that you can upload the data from the local file. Here I'm basically summarizing the format requirements. You want to make sure that your data is in the tabular format. So it's probably going to be Excel or the CSV file. Now here, this is a little catch over here. You're going to be taking the Watson Analytics course. At the time when the course was written, If the Excel workbook had more than one tab, Watson Analytics imported only the first tab. For the test purposes, the first tab gets imported. Now, in the current release, Watson Analytics gives you a choice. If the Excel has more than one tab, Excel file, you get choice, right? Now, here, each column should have a descriptive name, right? So column name should be intuitive, and you need to have, your data needs to have at least one numeric field. The values in the same column should have the same data type, and your spreadsheet cannot have totals, subtotals, and special formatting. Every row is a single data record, and you cannot have empty columns, right? And the file cannot be password protected. So just to help you, I put several examples of the improper formatting. Take a look here, the colors, and see this, I have a drop down, it's sort of like Microsoft Excel table, that won't work. Example 2, the problem is the column names are not intuitive. When I import this, Watson Analytics is not going to know what is 1, 2, 3, right? This is a third example. The problem is age. I have some numeric values, and here I have some character. See, this is a problem. You want to make sure that you have the same data type, right? So now let's go back. So let me close this out. So let me show you. Suppose that I want to return to the landing page, right? I'm not going to hit my back button, right? Am I going to do this? Of course not. Instead, I can just tap on Watson Analytics logger. Tapping on the logger takes you to the landing page, right? So now, let me show you something. What else we can do on the data page, right? We're still on the data page. Let's click on this ellipsis here. This is the academic performance data set. So here, it's showing me that file was initially in a CSV format, and notice that the data quality is 81%. Basically, Watson Analytics analyzing every single column in the data, and it's looking for skewness, and it's looking if there are missing values, and based on that, it's going to determine the quality score. So here is a menu. Take a look. You can click on ellipsis here. It opened up the menu. When you do the refine, you can filter out the columns that you want to see, the columns that you don't want to see. You can, this is new, you can download the data. This was not available until this weekend. You can rename this data set. Here, well, don't worry about this for now, but this will become useful when we start sharing data. But wait a minute, I'm not in my personal area right now. I'm looking at most samples data set folder, right? I'm at the wrong folder. Well, when you do this, when you click on this ellipsis, you're not going to see these options. Do you know why? Because you have a read-only access, right, to this folder. Look here. If I look over here, this is my directory structure, right? And this here, it tells me where I am at the moment. Currently, I'm not in my personal area. So let's go ahead and close this out. Let's go to personal area. That was my mistake, but that's all right. So here's my personal area, right? And here are my data sets in my personal area. What I could do is, right now I'm in a tile layout. I could change my layout, right? I can toggle between list and a tile. I can change my sorting and so on. So now here it is. It's a university satisfaction survey data set that I was going to look at actually. So let me click here on ellipsis. Now, something else I want you to keep in mind, and they put this option at the bottom of the list, delete. If you delete something, there is no recycle bin, right? So once you delete something, it's gone. Be very careful. Now, let's go to refine. So this is what my spreadsheet looked like at the time when this file was uploaded. This is something new here. You see sheet 1. This is basically the name of the tab in a spreadsheet that was uploaded. At this point, it does not matter. Later, it will matter. Later on, in a second Watson Analytics class in 4 weeks from today, I will show you how to join two data sets, right? So that will be matter. But for right now, don't worry if this name is not descriptive. Here are my column names, right? Those were the Excel column names. What I could do is I could click on my column to see the properties, right? So clicking here is going to bring up, what do I see here? Here is a list of values that the column may have, right? It's a categorical, class canceled, yes or no, right? When I click on ellipses, I can see the column properties. I have to click on properties, right? And it's going to open up the properties, which include the column data type, right? And it's going to be the column name. I can rename it from here. And it's going to be, here I can say if I want to use my column for prediction. If I want it to be used in models, I would have to make sure this box is checked. I can also use it as a target variable, default target variable. Target variable is a variable that you want to predict. Well, at this moment, I'm not interested to see if the course was canceled or not. I can define the sorting, and aggregation will become important when we do the data exploration, so we'll get to it. And here, in this case, values don't have an order. But in some cases, like satisfaction, the values would probably have an order because the higher value means higher satisfaction, right? So let me click here. Clicking on this, it will close the property window, but for some reason, okay, now it's cooperated. If I click here, it's going to open up the menu. You can hide certain columns. And this is very useful because sometimes in my company I may have more than one business unit, and based on the person's job role, I may not want them to see certain fields. So what I could do is I could uncheck the fields that I don't want them to see and save the spreadsheet as a separate copy and grant permissions accordingly, right? So here, I believe it's another way to open the properties, right? Or you can click on Edit. Well, it's taken a little while, but my point is there is more than one way to access the properties. I click here this time, and it also opened the property window. What you could also do is you can define the calculated column, or if your column has numeric values, you can define the Boolean. Boolean would convert the numeric value into the categoric values. As an example, let me give you an example. Your grade, right? You get your numeric grade from 1 to 100. Boolean would be, I want to make my grades 90 through 100 as an A, 80 through 89 as a B. So this is a Boolean. Instead of having the actual score, I'm going to have the range, right? To create a calculated column, there is more than one way. I can click on my column directly. Like, for example, let me give you an example. Suppose that I have something like training hours, right? And I want to create another variable where I increase training hours by 1. What I could do is I could just click here, right? And then I click on the ellipses here, and I would just need to select the calculation, right? Calculation basically creates a new column, a new variable. So let me do this let me just try this, extend it extended hours, right? So now what I could do is I could add a column here. I could add a column, like for example, I wanted to use the training hours, right? I can type in here. I type in here the partial column name, and I just selected the column. Now what I could do, I could just edit +1, right? So this is going to be the calculated column, and I'm gonna click done. Something important to keep in mind here. There is a dependency between the calculations. If I create another calculated column, right? So now let me do new, right? And I'm gonna do extended hours. Let's do it this way. So now what I could do is I could use my columns, or I can use my calculated columns to create another variable, right? This is what I could do. So now I'm gonna click done. Now, let me show you something. Let me close this out. The new column was added at the back. See this? Extended hours, and this is extended hours. Here, if I decide to delete this column somehow, if I decide to delete this, do you know what's going to happen? This column here will be invalid, right? Because of the dependencies. So this is something for you to keep in mind, right? And notice that there is no data group here. If I click here, there is no data group for some reason. Oops. The data group is also called the binion. Yes, speaking of data groups, calculations, and hierarchies, there is something that I want to point out. When you watch the course, when you take the course, you may notice that if you click on the menu here, in a slightly older release, there was a functionality, there was an option to add calculation, data group, and hierarchy at the bottom of the column list. It's no longer in there. Instead, they moved this functionality here. You will need to click on a plus sign. So this is important. When you take your class and when you watch a slightly older versions of the videos, this functionality, the functionality to create a calculation and to create a data group that used to be at the bottom here, was moved here. So now it's here, the plus sign. Now here are your best friends, because if you make a mistake, you can always undo it, right? I decided I no longer need the column. I can click undo. Right? Now, very important, the changes that I've made are not saved. They're not. So what I have to do is I have to save. Right? Oops. I have to click here to save. It's saving now. This error is a menu. You have an option to save, or you can save it as a copy. But when you just tap on the menu, by default, it's going to do the first menu option. So while it's saving, we went over this, right? I gave you some examples of poor format. Here, this is some troubleshooting for Excel files. So you may get this error message if the file, you're trying to import the file, but you already have another file with the same name. So you can have only one file with the same name. That's something to keep in mind. And if your file has more than one worksheets, right, you'll get this message. You will be prompted to select the sheet that you want, right, that you want to import. Now, this is what I started to go over. I started going over refinement functionality, right? This is where we are. And you can apply filters, and I'll show you how to apply the filters as well. So here it is, right? So now suppose that I want to say that I am interested in people who completed certain number of training hours. See, this is a sliding bar. I can slide this for numeric variables just to select the data rows that fall into a certain specified range, right? Here it is. Over here, it shows me what I selected. Now, suppose that I want to select the data rows that do not fall in this range, then I would have to click on invert, right? Or if I change my mind, I would have to click on clear. Right? So this is for the numeric variables. On the other hand, this is the university name. If I want to filter out certain universities, I could just, one option is to check the universities that I want to select, but suppose that the list of the universities that I want to select is longer than the universities that I don't want to select. Then I can select what I don't want to select and click on invert, right? That's one option. Or another option is a set condition. Perhaps I want to select all universities that start with the letter A, right? And I can add a condition, and then I can select all universities that start with letter A. It's just an example. Okay, let me clear the condition, clear condition again, right? So now here is my friend, undo. If I did something that I really did not mean to do, I can undo, right? There we go, undo. And notice that here, if you see this asterisk, it means that the latest changes have not been saved. An asterisk means the latest changes have not been saved, right? So what you could also do is, see, this is a training hours. I can click here, and I can select my data group. Okay? Training hours. I'm gonna click on data group. Doing that will create a new column, and what I'll have to do is I'll have to enter the column name, right? And I'll have to enter something like hours range. Well, for some reason, hours range, oops, it's not cooperating a little bit, but, well, I have to be a little patient sometimes. But anyway, this is what you would do. You would enter the new column name in here, right? Well, sometimes it's a matter of, okay, here we go. I just have to put my cursor in there and type. So here is the column name. This is the number of beans. Ooh. Oh, now it's asking me to select the columns that I want to filter it, that I want to use for my grouping. Oops, let me close this out. That's not really what I wanted to do. Okay. Anyway, so by default, the default number of beans apparently is 5, right? It's going to divide the values into 5 value ranges for me, right? This is what it's doing. Well, for some reason, well, it's gonna happen sometimes. But do not use the back button when it happens, right? You need to wait it for a little bit. It will come back up. It will come back up. Sometimes, well, it happens. Because what you need to do is, when you're using a cloud application, first of all, try to minimize the number of programs that you have open at the same time, and try to make sure that nobody, if you don't have a high internet connection speed, I recommend making sure that nobody is streaming games at the same time while you're trying to do your homework, right? So let me click on it. Let's see if it cooperates now. Data group, right? And here is going to be the column name, and it's going to be training hours range. Hours range. Okay, by default, it's going to divide by 5 ranges, sorry. And here, it's going to be the equal width binning. So it means that it's equal ranges, equal value ranges. It does not matter how many data rows fall in each range. I can change it, but for right now, let's just keep it as is and click on done. So what this did was it created another variable at the very end. See this? It created a categorical variable for me, and the values are less than 176, and I can keep on scrolling, right? I can keep on scrolling, and I should have 5 distinct values. And if I click here, Notice that there are 5 distinct values, right? I could click on properties just to check what's going on, right? And well, it shows this as a text field. The values still don't have an order, but I can add an order if I want to. It's used for prediction, and well, it's not the target variable. I don't want this. I'm not interested in predicting the hours, right? So now suppose that I want to hide this column. To do that, I would need to click here, and I would just need to find this column, and I would just need to uncheck, right? I would need to uncheck. Okay, and this is my extended hours. I also don't want to see this. I'm going to uncheck, and I'm going to save it. Oh, but what is this? This is called a hierarchy. This is something that Watson Analytics spot for me, right? Later on, when we do another class, I'll show you some examples of hierarchies where it can be used in analysis. But in general, you can look at data breakdown by the year, and then you can further drill down by the day within a year. It's trying to define sort of like approaches, ways to drill down in my data. I can look at the data by state, so I can look at the city within the state. That's basically what it is. Watson Analytics try to identify this for me. All right, so let's close this out. I need to show you something else. When I click here, I can see the data quality score for my individual columns. For some reason, it showed me that this column has missing values, 3%. All right, so I have some data rows missing a value. Now here it says high quality because the distribution might be closer to normal, I would say. Here the quality is lower because the distribution is more skewed. Although there is no explicit way to handle missing values, when you define the filter, usually it's possible to exclude blanks. So if you want to omit the data rows with missing values, you would click here, and you would need to exclude blanks. That's an option here. This is how you exclude the data rows with missing values. Watch, you click here and you make sure that this is unchecked. That's one way. However, keep in mind that if your data set has half of the data rows missing a value for specific variable, guess what? You're losing data, right? So you may want to consider excluding a variable instead. So now what we can do is, let's go ahead and I'm going to save as, I can save it as satisfaction survey for university, and I'm going to add the word refined, right? I would recommend to keep the original copy of the data and to save the changes as a copy, just in case if you need to go back to it. So now this is saving. While it's saving, we need to be a little patient, right? So here I went over refining data. Here is an interface, but there is a little exception. I took this screenshot last week. After I took the screenshot, a new button was added, and this new button here allows downloading the dataset. I can download a copy of refined data to my local hard drive. So this is the difference between what you see in the slides and the actual screenshot. So here I'm basically just summarizing you the different buttons that you'll see, right? And here I'm just summarizing what you can do to see the properties and what you can do to filter, to apply the filter. So here I'm summarizing the data score. Yes, something else I forgot to point out. If you have a variable that has the same value for every single data row, right, the quality is going to be low because the variable does not add value to your analysis. So this is one example where you would want to exclude the variable from analysis, right? If every single row has the same value, right? So I went over this. Here is basically the properties. There is another way to specify the data type, whether you want to use a column for sorting. This one here, we will save for the next class where we cover more advanced functionalities. This is for joining data. Now, let's close this out. Well, we can go back to the landing pages by clicking here. Something else I need to show you is that when I click here, it's going to show me all files that I currently have open, right? Here, if I don't see an asterisk next to the file name, it means that I saved the latest changes to the file, right? If I see an asterisk, it means that I didn't save my latest changes to the file, right? So basically, if I have this file open, even if I log out, I still have it open. This is something to keep in mind. It will become important later on. Now, so here is a data tab, right? Now we are ready to do some data exploration. There is more than one way to do it. I can just click here. When I click on the style, Watson Analytics will provide the suggested exploration, something that I might be interested in. Perhaps I might be interested in what drives the student satisfaction, right? So let's click here, and it's going to show me the spiral model, right? So driver is basically another word for predictor. And this over here, each predictor will be represented as a pin. The closer the pin to the core, the stronger is the predictive strength, right? This is the target variable, which is satisfaction. Notice that this is being read from the spreadsheet, right? Here is the data tray. So if I click here, notice if I click here, right, this is a menu. This menu is similar to what you saw in refinement. If you apply any calculations or any filtering at this data tray, it will apply only to this discovery workbook. It will not apply to the rest of the data, to the rest of the discovery workbooks that you use to build this data set, right? Now here, if I hover over this, it's going to highlight the corresponding record here. And this is the predictive strength. Well, apparently it's a little low, but basically, course that you took is a predictor of satisfaction. That's what the model suggests, but the predictive strength is kind of low in this case, right? So here you could change the target variable if you like, but in my case, I am interested in the satisfaction, but alternatively, I could look at something else, right? I could look at perhaps if the course was canceled. Well, probably not. It's not really interesting study. But in any case, I can just choose something else that is my target variable. I can predict the individual age, or the grade level, or the travel distance. Well, but I have to make sure that the target variable that I select makes sense, right? So more likely, I'll choose the satisfaction for this data set. So now what I did was I created the discovery workbook. I did not save it yet. So let me save this. And you want to make sure that all file names are descriptive, right? So let me save it as student satisfaction. This will appear on the Discovery tab. Let me click Save. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to click here, to return to the landing page. Here, I'm going to select the discovery tile. This is what I just did, right? Number 1 here means that the workbook that I just created has only one tab, right? So, to go back to my workbook, I can click here, right? Or I could also select it from this menu because I had it open, right? I still had it open, so I can just click here, right? So now, what I could do also is I can reformat my model, right? I can hide the title, I can change the indentation, and I can play around with my colors, and I can hide the legend if I want to, and more, right? So I have a lot of options here that I can choose. If you notice it on the right, Watson Analytics is trying to tell what else I might be interested in based on the current visualization I'm looking at. It's a dynamic, right? So now let's add additional visualization. I can just click on this plus sign. It's going to add another tab to my workbook. And right now I want the satisfaction, but I don't quite see what I want in here. I want to do the decision tree. I can just do, if I type something satisfaction in here, Watson Analytics will guess what I want. It will just guess the starting point. That's nice. I want to do what is a predictive model for the satisfaction. I typed it in and just guessed what I want, right? So I click here. This will take some time to build, but I want you to be patient a little bit. Here, oh, I'm lucky, that's quick, huh? This is, I'm going to show you the rules mode, and I'm going to show you the actual decision tree mode. So what basically it did was it analyzed the profiles of students, right? And it identified here is this is the average satisfaction value, 4.33. We have 1,002 students who fall into this category. They took this technology in sport management course. They are sophomores, male, and this is the age range, right? And they took more than one course, right? This is an average score for this group of students. Here is the next group of students. There are 728, right? And this is a predictive value. And here is basically describes the category, right? So this is a course that they're taking. They're juniors, they're males, and this is a number of courses. It says greater than 0. Oh, it means there could be 1. This is the average satisfaction score. Now, if you hover, it's going to show you the predictive strength, right? So here it's showing me that it's 1%. I have 728 students fall into this condition, and 1% of the student, right? And I get the standard deviation and average for this group. Here, the target variable apparently is numeric. If the target variable was categorical, I would receive the dominant value instead, right? So now here are more options. You can turn things on and off, right? That's basically the details, the number of details that you can see. Well, it makes more sense when you switch to the tree mode. It makes more sense. So now here are the rules, right? And here we can switch to the tree mode. So here is a tree, and I have to show you how to zoom in. Over here, right, whatever is highlighted here, it means it's a portion of the tree that gets displayed here. It's not really useful, so let me see the full tree. the way we read the decision tree is that we start from the root node, and we're going to see the splitting condition. Oh, it's taking its time, but basically we have to start from, oh, here it is. It's because I want to see the full tree. See that this is all records, right? Here's my full tree. It shows me that I have 51,326 records, and this is the average satisfaction score for everybody if I look at the average for all raters, so to speak. So now I need to click on this node. When I click on it, all right, this is my first split. Oops. And apparently course is the first splitting variable, right? So now, based on the course, I have to move on to my next branch. And to do this, I will just need to scroll through, right? I will just need to scroll until I get to my next. Oh, here it is. So this node, right? This node is connected to the root node. Technology and sports, right? So this is a node. And it says here that I have 62% of records that fall into this node, right? So if the course is technology, this is where how you traverse the tree. If the course is technology, you take this path, right? Now, the next splitting variable is the student grade level, right? So you keep on traversing here. If the grade level is sophomore, right, or freshman, if the grade level is a freshman, then you have 19,760 students who fall into this range, right? You keep on traversing. The next splitting variable goes, see this? Freshman, junior, it's another value, right? Junior, then comes the gender, and so on. And you keep on going, you keep on traversing the tree until you get all the way to the leaf node or terminal node, right? You would need to keep on traversing until you get all the way down, right? And the leaf node, also called the terminal node, is going to determine the satisfaction, right? So you would need to look at the color code, right? The darker the color code, the higher is the satisfaction. The darker the color code, the higher is the satisfaction here. That's what basically it is. And this is a numeric variable, right? Categorical variable is going to be different. So now here I can basically hide the details. This is an option to just hide different details of the visualization. This is actually very useful when you have the categorical variables, right? Anyway, now I have to show you something else. It won't be really... Okay, look at this analysis, but I'll have to show you this for categorical variable, because when the variable is numeric, you're not going to see something called confusion matrix. But at least you can see that predictor importance. Well, apparently, course is important predictor. The student grade level, right? If it's a junior, freshman, or sophomore, or senior, this is the second important. Age, and here if the course instructor utilize the PowerPoint. Gender and number of courses taken. Those apparently are important predictors. And here it's basically showing you more information on the leaf nodes. It's just showing me more, right? It's just showing me more information. But I would think this is a rule, right? If you click here, if you compare it with the rules, doesn't it look like a rule? Yes, it does to me. Now here, it's giving you more information, what it did to split the values, right? It's just giving you more information. This information is very helpful. And here it's telling you what model was used. It used the regression tree model, right? So you may find this very helpful. Now, I can add more tabs, but to make sure that I don't get myself confused, you can rename this. And to rename this, you click on this, and you're going to select rename. Ooh. You click and select rename. Well, rename. And I want to put this, let's do this as a spiral model. But you're gonna choose something more descriptive, because trust me, sometimes tomorrow you may not remember what you did today. So here, I'm just gonna call it a decision tree. Rename decision tree, right? Ooh. Oops. Come on. Decision tree. Well, anyway, sometimes it takes a little patience. Now, I renamed it, and I'm going to save this. Ooh, I clicked the wrong button. But since I clicked the wrong button, let me explain to you what that is. This button lets you share your visualizations via email, or you can download them as an image, or you can send your friend a link, right? I'm not confident how well it works, but I tested the download and I tested the email. If you click on email, it will let you choose which attachments you want to email, right? And you will be able to email images as an attachment. But let me close this out. That's not something that I really want to do. And you want to keep in mind that at times it gets a little slow. So, oops, I'm back now at my discovery book, right? And let's do what I actually wanted to do. I wanted to save it, right? Since I'm looking at this panel here, don't be scared about 33.4 gigabytes. That's the space that's used by the group. Or we have about 350 users. This is the total space used by the group, so don't let this number scare you. Okay, now let's go back to the landing page. And I think I wanted to show you how the decision tree would look like for the categorical variable. Well, I may not have an example here, but we can make one, right? We can always make one. So let's click on the discovery again. And now I'm going to click on a plus sign here. And let me pick. Oh, in fact, this is what I could do. Let's close this out. I could make a copy of this. Look, decision tree. I'm going to duplicate this. And now what I'll do is I'll change the target variable here. I want to change to the categorical just to illustrate the difference, because it could be important. So think about any categorical variable that we want to choose. It might not be meaningful, but I just want to show you something here. Well, let's choose the gender. Well, it won't be meaningful, but I want my target to be the categorical, because I want to show you the difference, what the tree is going to look like. All right? Well, of course, you're not going to be predicting anyone's gender, but I just wanted to, just for the demonstration purposes. So we did that, right? We did the refinement, right? So while it's uploading, I need to remind you that anything that you delete, there is no recycle bin. I put this in your slides intentionally, so you may remember this picture, right? So let me go back. It's still calculating the model, but for the categorical variable, you'll have more information. It's going to show me how many people I predicted as male that are actually female, number of people predicted as a female that are actually male, right? and I can see the rules, and I can see my actual tree. So here, basically, I'm gonna start traversing my tree from here, from the root, right? And here it's showing me the percentage of males and females. Now, apparently the satisfaction is important predictor of gender. And here I use my satisfaction value to traverse the tree. So here what it did was it took the range, it took the values range. If the satisfaction between 3 and 4, this is where I end up. I take this branch, and it's showing me now the number of males and females who fall into this branch. Next one is total training hours, and so on. I keep going until I reach the very, very end, right? I have to get all the way to the end, to the leaf node. Now, here I can see the full tree, or I can just do the zoom in, zoom out, or here, right now it was showing me the percentage of male, female. Here I can just toggle what I want to see, right? I don't want to see perhaps, I only want to see the dominant value. So for instance, if number of females dominate the number of males in this node, I want to see the blue. If number of males dominates, I want to see the green. Well, this is just an option. This is just an option because here I have only 2 values, but I could have a categorical variable with more than 2 values. Now here, if I go to analysis, I'm going to see the confusion matrix. And the confusion matrix tells me, it's showing me the breakdown. So I have the number of people who I thought are female based on the model, but they're actually male, right? And so on. Okay? So how do I calculate the classification accuracy? I would have to take the number of students who are, the number of females predicted as female, plus the number of males predicted as male, and I'm going to divide it by the total number of people in my data. And that's going to give me the classification accuracy. Here, it's showing me how my model was constructed. The method took the satisfaction, and it did equal frequency binning. So the method implements the internal binning. There is no need to convert my variable to the categorical because the method is going to do it for me, right? And same thing here, it did the binning for the percentage in enablement with other vendors. So I believe that has to do with the course properties, course training hours, and so on, right? So this is doing the binning. In your data that you're analyzing, you might also see the grouping. If you have a categorical variable that has multiple values, like for instance, course, right? It's highly possible that you have several courses, several course titles could fall in the same branch of a tree. So it can do the grouping, or it can do the binning, right? Well, it can do discretization, let's say, right? It can divide the numeric variable values into ranges, or it can combine the values of categorical variables to build the model, right? And here, see what I'm doing? I'm just using my mouse to scroll up and down, and I can click, close, expand the nodes, and so on, right? What else I could do is I could click here, and I can add any visualization that Watson Analytics suggests, right? Just an example. I click, and it's going to add a new visualization for me, and I can keep on going. Right? I'm just giving an example. What I could also do is I could go back to my spiral model, and here, take a look. I'm showing my main predictors of the satisfaction. Take a look. I can click on the plus sign here, courses, and I can further break down. Right? How the course affect the satisfaction. See, this is my breakdown, how the course affects the satisfaction. I can break it down even further. Let me see this. As you may recall, the gender mattered, right? So what I could do is, here is my gender. Watch. I'm gonna drag and drop right here. So what it's gonna do is, it's going to create a similar plot for me by gender. It will create the satisfaction plot for course by gender. This is what it did, right? It's called the multiplier. So this is a plot that I want to keep, and I'm gonna name it as satisfaction by course by gender, right? So I've got 3, and this one has no meaning. I don't want to keep, so I just click on X. Now, clicking on X just deletes it. You cannot recover it, so something to keep in mind. There is no recycle bin. Well, actually, I lied. I lied because if it's my latest change, I can undo. If it's my latest change, I can undo here, right? So now let's click here and save, right? So whether or not you can recover something, it depends how late you made the change. Now, there is a problem because did I have it open twice? Did I have it open twice? Yes, I did, right? Well, let's just click override. But here is something to watch out. If you log in, when you log in one browser and you leave the file open, right? And then if you log in a different browser, you might be having some problems with saving the file. So when you log out, it's a good practice to just close everything you have open. And it will really matter when you start working in groups. If you share a file with me, even if you're not logged in at the moment, if you have something open, you still use it, you still have it open, I cannot change it, right? So now we have what? 4 visualizations, right? What I'll do right now, I'm going to go back to the landing page and I'm going to show you how to build a display. We're going to study more details. We'll study the presentations, finding presentation in depth in the next class, but for right now, let me show you how to do the basic display. I'm here, right? So I can click on new display, or I can also click on new display here, right? At the moment, I don't have any displays. Let me click on new display. Now I'm gonna have to name it, and I'm gonna call it satisfaction, university satisfaction findings, right? So basically, in the next class, we'll cover the storybook, so don't worry about it right now. At the moment, let's just focus on the dashboard. Create. So dashboard, they can have multiple tabs. I can select the layout for my tab. So let's select this one. What it will do is, I have 4 sections. I have 4 sections here, right? And I have only 1 tab at the moment. At the moment, I have only 1 tab. Now what I'll start doing is, I'll start adding my visualizations to this page. Now pay attention. I can add existing visualization, right? You will see shared, you'll see personal, right? I'm gonna click on personal. This shows the workbooks, right? All of the discovery workbooks that I have created in my personal folder. Today, we worked on student satisfaction, this one. Now, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna click on the arrow, and clicking on the arrow is gonna show me the 4 tabs. These are the 4 tabs that I had in my workbook. Very important, I have to have descriptive names on every single tab, because if I leave it as Untitled 1, Untitled 2, when I'm here, I will not have an idea on what is in the visualization. I won't remember what's there, right? So that's the reason we want to have the descriptive name for each tab. Now watch what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna click here. I selected it and I'm gonna drag it, but notice that I want my mouse to be on top of the blue. See this? The white arrow on the blue font. I want my mouse to get on top. And release. So I want my visualization to take this whole space right here. And just an example. Now, it's a little bit hard to read. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to read when you have 4. Right? It depends on the visualization type that you use. Right? You would want to adjust the layout. But for the purpose of this demo, let me add more here. I'll take this and I drop this here. Right? Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to drop it here. So I've got 3. Now what I'll do is I'm going to add another page on purpose. I'm adding another page. I want to have at least 2 pages. And now I'm going to select this layout here. And I'm going to drag my model here. See this? I want my mouse on top of this, because I want this visualization to be sized for me. Now, let's do this. Let's save this. The display has 2 modes, edit mode and the view mode. Yes, I want to save it in my personal now. There are 2 modes. Right now, if I see the eyeglasses, it means that I'm in the edit mode. If I see the pencil, it means I'm in the view mode. If I'm in view mode, I cannot make any changes, right? But I can still use the interactive functionality, right? So now what I'll do, I will switch back to the edit mode, and I'll show you something very important: filters. There are 3 types of filters. 3, not 2, but 3. I can apply the filter at the whole workbook level, right? If I apply the filter to all tabs, so to do that, I would have to click on filters here. That's one way to do it. I click on filters, and doing that here is a list of my fields that I used in the visualization. Now what I could do is I could just drag and drop. I can take that. For instance, I want to filter it by course. I can take this, drag and drop. This filter is applied to all tabs. But wait a minute, there is nothing to apply at the moment because I have not defined the filter. To define the filter, I would have to click on ellipsis, and I want to the edit filter values, and here I can select the courses that I want to look at, right? Suppose that I want to look at these 2 only, right? Now notice what it did. Okay, close here. What it did was it filtered out all tabs. It applied it here too. Well, it might be difficult to see, but just trust me, this got filtered out too. It's recomputing the decision tree right now. So on this page, it will only show the data for 2 courses that I kept, right? It won't show 3 courses because I filtered it out. Alternatively, I can define a filter that applies only to this specific tab. So to do that, I would have to go to filters, and again, this is my list, and I would have to take this here, for instance, I want to use a class cancel. I would drag and drop, and here I would click, and I would do the edit filter values, and I want to say no. Now, take a look here. This filter applies only to one page, right? Only to this tab. And if I go here, that filter that I applied to the second tab is no longer in effect. Now, this is a new functionality, relatively new. If you've used bots analytics before, I can click here to hide this section. Now I can hide this tab section. But here, I can click again to expand the filter section. Number 2 means that I have 2 filters defined in there for this tab. So now what you could do is you could save this. You could click here and to save it. You can always delete the filter, but this is something important here. If I go here and if I do clear filter, I'm not deleting it. I'm just removing the filtering condition. But to delete the filter completely, I would have to select delete, right? So clearing filter just removes the condition, right? But it does not actually delete. I mentioned that there are three. I mentioned that there are three types of filters. Another one is at the visualization level. So I would have to go to the focus mode. And once I'm in the focus mode, this is equivalent to being in the discovery. You can just go in and edit it. Right? This is somewhat equivalent to the discovery. Okay, so let's minimize this. Okay. So if I make any changes at this level, it only applies to this visualization. What I could also do for these displays is that I could add widgets such as images, or I can add links. Well, it's taking a little time to load, but I could also I could create a brand new discovery. Something else I need to mention that the discoveries that we use in the same display may or may not be from the same workbook. They could be from the different discovery workbook. It's possible to use them from different discovery workbook. So here, see, here all folders, it will show you anything that you have access to, and personal is only your work, right? But we're gonna make a rule here that everybody will save all work only to your personal area. You're not gonna be saving anything to the root of the shared folder. You're saving it to the personal area, and or when we get closer towards the end of the course, last assignment, you'll be able to save it to your team folder. You'll have a designated area for the team. So now let's go ahead and save this. Okay, so now let's see to make sure that I covered deleting data. Oh, asking questions. I need to cover it more in depth. So let's go back here. And this is important also for the test that you'll take and for the course. There is more than one way where I can type my question. If I type my question over here, right, such as satisfaction, what drives satisfaction, Watson Analytics will attempt to search the data sets that I can access. It will search all the data sets that I can access, and it's going to give me the suggested exploration points. It searches everything. So it may or may not be the same data set. Take a look at this. It just gives me a set of things that I could look at, and it gives the data set name, right? And I can keep on navigating. Alternatively, I can go to Discover page and type the same question, right? right? I can search and I'm gonna get the same. Well, so here it's searching everything. On the other hand, earlier what we did was we clicked on a specific data set, right? So let's exit the search. Let's go back here. So what we did here, I clicked on the specific data set. Then it will search anything I type in here will only search the data set that I clicked on, right? So this is a difference. Now, here you can look at this more. How to ask questions. There are different types of questions, variety pack. Then you can do the data comparison. See this? So you can do, for instance, what is the breakdown of satisfaction by student origin state? And I can click on ask. That will create a new discovery workbook, right? Well, no, I lied. It's going to give me the suggested discoveries that I can choose from, right? So that's going to give me the suggested discoveries, and I can just take something I'm interested in. And we're going to do maps more in the next class. I'll show you, right? The maps could be very exciting. So, and it's dangerous. See this? It's dangerous because I get carried away with this. So, see, this is a Kansas state, and I can go and click on properties, and see this, this is a hierarchy. Do you remember I mentioned the hierarchy? So I have my data broken down by state, and I can go up to see the data by country. Well, this is apparently country, but if I had a city, if I had a further breakdown by city, I could drill in, and I can see my data by city, right? So that's basically what the hierarchy does. And there should be, as you may remember, that all the way at the bottom, when we looked at the data, it created the hierarchy for me that noted the relationship between the state and the city. So basically, if I bring it in here to analysis, I would be able to drill down my numbers, right? I would be able to click here and then go down, right? This is the data by state. But if I have a hierarchy, I could further go down by cities within the state. I can go down by cities within the state if there is data, right? Yeah. So basically, that's what it was. I mentioned the hierarchy earlier, but I promise you that in the next class, I'll show you more what you can do with this. When we do the Twitter data, it's going to be real fun. But for right now, let's see if we covered. So we covered the different types of questions, how to ask questions. Now, this is more, right? I'm just summarizing here what you can do. This is a spiral model, and we went over that. In my example, I had only one driver. Sometimes it's highly possible that you could have a combination of two variables as a driver. Like, for example, the course satisfaction is determined by the course title and the age range, right? Two together. This is a decision tree, and I'm just summarizing what you will see. If the target variable is numeric, you will see the average. You'll see an average value, and you'll see the number of affected data records, and probably the profile of instances that fall into that range, right? Profile of data records, rather. And here I'm just going more in depth, and you have a copy of the slides. I'm just doing a little summary for you. You can click on the node to collapse or to expand to see more details, and you can hover over the node to see the percentage of records and so on. Here is basically you can toggle the views. For instance, here you can see this data set was about the student at risk for academic failure. That's an example. So I can see here only the percentage of the students who are at risk because it's a dominant value, right? I can see the breakdown or I can see just the dominant value. So if I go back here, if I go back to my here, nope, that's a, I believe I created the stop here. Yes. So I'm going to this decision tree here. So what I was talking about is that in this case, I have only two values of the categorical variable. So here, what I'm doing is I'm showing only the dominant value. Alternatively, I can just show the breakdown. Right? I can show this breakdown. So it's just a different way to view. Now, here it's just more details. I'm summarizing what I showed you. Then you can also look at the numbers, the confusion matrix, and the predictive strength. So here you'll have a slide, and I'll put together this summary, what those numbers mean, and how you calculate the prediction accuracy and even more, right? So here are additional options. You can change the color codes, and you can change the titles. Here are different types of visualizations that you can do. You can do the summaries, and you can do the tabular visualization. I go here, so let me click on the new, and I would have to select the custom visualization. Like if I scroll down, I can scroll all the way down, and I can select table, right? And when I do that, this is to summarize my data. And then I would have to drag and drop what I want to see, right? For example, I want to have the student state. I drag and drop. So here is my student state. And then I want to see I can see, for instance, the average something satisfaction, or just anything, or I can do the average number of training hours. Let's just say. So here it's going to show me, it's supposed to show me the average number of training hours by the state, right? And then if I want to, I can continue, I can add number of courses. This is basically the summary table, right? This is called a measure. Remember before I mentioned if you click here, click on properties. If you click on properties, the reason, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to click on properties, and I wanted to show you what I earlier meant by aggregation type. See that this is a number of hours, so let me go back to it. And when I click here, and I click over here, oops, see this? I click on property. Oh, this is number of courses taken. But anyhow, what I'm trying to say is that if I click on properties, there is an option to change what I want to do. If I want to do the count of distinct values, or if I want to do the sum, or if I want to do the average. Well, this is not available because I'm looking at the I'm looking now at the categorical variable. I need to look at the this one, number of courses taken. I need to look at this one. Nope, this is a course taken. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that if I look at the numeric variable, I saw it. Let's see this one. Yes, if I click here, number of courses taken, that's what I want. I click here, and then I click on the properties. One of the properties determines if I want to see the average or if I want to see the sum. See this? right now it's showing me the total number of courses taken by people who live in a state. But instead, I want to see the average. On average, how many courses do the student who live in a state take? Right? So I can change that. This is what I was saying. See this? So that gives me now the average number of courses the student take. So that's an aggregation property that you would need to change. Okay? There we go. So now we covered this. Well, I did not cover the two-dimensional, the grid, but I'm going to leave it to you for exploration, and we'll get back to it in the next class. Here is I'm summarizing how to create a display. Something to keep in mind is that the dashboard can have more than one tab. Infographic, there is no tab. There are no tabs. It's a single page. Infographic, single page. Dashboard, multiple tabs. Right? So here are just different things you can do. You can add text, you can add widgets, you can format the way you like, and you can actually add the new display. You can add the display that has not been created before. So now this is a display toolbar. I'm just summarizing the different options that you have. Here I'm just showing you how to add the existing display. Just drag and drop, right? By the way, is anybody keeping track of how many line of code I have written tonight? Right? We need a volunteer for that. Now, here, oh, excellent, somebody's paying attention. 0, that's right. All right, so here I'm just summarizing the different filters. We can define the filter for the whole workbook, right? Or we can define the filter for a single tab or for a single visualization. Oh, this one is a landing page. So let's go back here. That's it. This is a display page here. This is a tile that was added for the display, for the dashboard that I just created. And here is my menu. I can click on ellipsis. I can rename it. This is a danger zone. I can delete it, but it cannot be recovered, or I can move it. Speaking of moving, it does not have to be moving it to shared area to share with your friends. What you could do is, I realize that you're going to have multiple assignments in this course. You can create a folder in your personal area, and let's call it assignment 1, right? So this will help me organize my work. I created a subfolder called assignment 1. Take a look at it. This is important. In the left panel, this is a navigation. It shows me the folder structures. In order to see assignment 1 folder that I just created, I would have to click on a plus to expand my personal folder. I click assignment here. Now it's empty, right? So what I could do, just imagine that this was my assignment 1. I would click here on ellipsis, and I would have to select move. Ooh, aha, I did it on purpose. Why am I getting an error? You'll get this error. You might get this error as well, so pay attention. You're going to remember Yelena got this error during the demo because Yelena did not close the file. See this? It's here. It's open. Let's close it. We cannot move the file to another folder until it's closed. So let's go move, and now we're going to select assignment 1 and move. Okay. There we go. There we go. So now if I click here, it's gonna be in here. So just remember the 3Ds, right? Data, discover, display. Okay. So if I want to see the display, I would have to select the display. But now, where is it? It's because I didn't save it in assignment 1, I saved it in my personal area, right? So just remember where you saved it, right? What else we did not cover? Going on to the next slide, this is important. We are not going to save anything into the root of the shared area because this is available for everybody in the system. Anyone can delete it and anyone can access it, and it's turning into a mess. It's very difficult to track whose work it is, right? So we're gonna have a rule. You will be saving the work to your personal area, and later in the course you'll be saving it to the designated folder for your group. Anything that's saved in the wrong place will be deleted. I will have a folder, subfolder in my personal area called trash can. So whenever anyone made a mistake, right, I'm gonna be nice. I will grab the file, I will drop it into my trash can, and you will need to contact me, right? Whenever you made a mistake, I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna save it. I will remove it from the shared area to the trash can folder that I'll create in my personal area, right? But if nobody claims it in the next few days, guess what? That's it. It's gone. Now, something to keep in mind. Very important. Here is the URL, and you'll have a copy. There are times when Watson Analytics application is not available. It's down for the planned maintenance. It's because the developers keep on adding functionalities to an application, keep on adding enhancements, or it could be a bug fix. So here is a schedule of the times when the system will not be available. So take note on the 16th, for example, in the next maintenance, 17th, optional if needed, and take a look at when your assignment is due, because couple nights before you won't be able to access the system. You're going to see the maintenance window. Even if the maintenance page is not displayed, at times you might be able to log in, but you might not be able to access full functionalities. So I would recommend staying away from using the system during those hours. It's highly possible that there could be an emergency scheduled maintenance window. Anything is possible, but I'll do my best to keep everyone informed if I see anything. And this is another link. There is a list of supported browsers, right? So you want to check it. Once you get the slide, make sure that you're using the supported browser. Here is another web page that you would love. Sometimes we have a question about something. There is a high possibility that another developer already asked the question. So to access this, you would need to do it. This is a forums page, forums. So here are different questions that have been asked. And sometimes you can find your answer, or you can post a new question. But to post a new question, you need to log into your Watson Analytics account. And if you know the answer, you can reply to another user. And also, the questions are broken down by categories. Like I can see the display-related questions and so on. All right, so you're going to like this page. You're also going to like the resources page. Those are the latest videos. You're going to like the blog page, because sometimes they add links to the interesting use cases. See the latest and greatest. Here are the new videos that were just added. So now let's go back to the slides. And this is new. Watson Analytics Learning Center. They put together, this is really nicely organized, and I like it because you have a lot of how-to videos in a single place. So I'm gonna put this here. See this? This is a get started page, and then you click here how to, and it's broken down by topic. This is what I like here. So if you're interested in uploading data, here is a whole page of videos for you. Right? Isn't that nice? It's really nicely organized. I don't need to search throughout the whole YouTube. I can just go in here and I can watch this. Right? I would strongly recommend that when you get time, watch as many as you can, because it will help you with assignments. Right? So now let's come back here. I have some links, and you have a copy of the slides. Those are some additional useful videos that you would like, and some additional use cases. Some of them are posted in your classroom, I think. Yeah, in your classroom you have a link. So let's go back. In your classroom, in week 4, there is a link. There is a link called Watson Useful Watson Analytics Resources by Topic. Let me switch to learner view. So I'm going to click on the content, right? So this is your learner view. Very important. You want to go to the course content, right? Make sure that you're not skipping a course content. And you would have to go to there should be the content. Oh, I see what's happening. It's because as a learner, I didn't complete the academic integrity pledge. See this? So if you see what I see right now, it's because you have not completed the academic integrity pledge. So now I'm switching as an admin. So let's see here. This is a course content, right? Here it is. Let me show you something very important in your course content. I wanted to point out because this will help you along the way. Here, there are a lot of study guides. Here are the instructions on how to accept the Watson Analytics invitation. Very important. If you have not done it yet, please do it. You have a link to tutorial. The reason I put a link is because I keep on updating this tutorial a lot. So instead of adding the actual copy of the PDF file, I put the link here instead. So you would have to click on this link. See, this I just updated it a few weeks ago. So now let me close this and go back to the tab. Basically, when you have time, as much as you have time, you want to go through these resources as many as you can. And if you click on this page, it's a nice breakdown by topic for you as well, and in the case studies and so on. Don't worry about the storybooks and the Twitter data analysis for right now. But I created this page just to, sometimes it's helpful to break things down by topic, so to speak, right? So for example, if you're looking about something to refine data, you can just go in here and see what I put on that topic. All right, so now I spoke for about almost an hour and 45 minutes. Your turn. I would like to see questions. I love questions. And if there are no questions, then Yelena start asking questions. Let me hit the chat. Oh, Gregory, you mentioned that you could not hear, so were you able to hear? Hopefully the audio got resolved for you. Now, any questions? Now I'm going to ask question. What are the 3Ds of Watson Analytics? Anybody remembered? Hint, hint, look at my screen. Data, discover, display, right? So what are you going to do after this class if you have not done it yet? Remember, you will accept your Watson Analytics invitation. Make sure you check your junk folder, right? And I realize it's a lot of information that I showed you tonight, but you're going to see the recording, you're going to have the recording, you're going to have the slides. Oh, you did not receive an email? Okay. And it's not in your junk folder? Okay, so what I'm going to do is, after this class. I'm going to take a look because I have a tracking spreadsheet. I'll take a look, and if for some of you, you might already have an account on my subscription. If you do, then you continue using the same account that was created for you earlier. It's either some of you may have attended one of the Watson Analytics workshops in the past, or you may have taken another class that required using the account, something like that. Oh, you don't have one? Okay. I'm going to after this, I'm taking a note, and I'm going to check. I will check what's going on, and I'm going to resend an invitation if, yeah, I'll check what's going on. But also, I forgot to mention, you need to check the email address that is in Leo. I used your email addresses in Leo. Okay. I'm gonna check it. I'll check it. All right. So, any other questions? So let me do this. Well, I'm just taking the notes on people who mentioned that they may not have received an email. Okay, I'll check it. Not a problem. Anyone else? Questions? Questions? Irana likes questions. And yes, something to keep in mind, it's not going to be an email from me. It's going to be an email from IBM. It's not from Yelena. All right? So, and it was sent, I processed the account yesterday morning at approximately, it was 7 a.m. Something like that, because I picked the time when the system is faster. So, and I did them around 7 a.m. yesterday morning. So it's just approximate timing of the email, just to help you out. Any more questions? Questions? And the question and answer session does not end now. It does not end right now. You may keep on emailing follow-up questions, right? So, and I'm sure that once you start reading the tutorials, once you start taking the Watson Analytics course, there are going to be more questions. So take your time to learn the application, right? So let's see, questions. Is there anything that you would like to add, Steve?
No, very good job and very detailed. I think as people digest it, they'll learn quite a bit from it. Hey, Helena, thank you very much. And of course, I will send the link to the recorded version to the professors to post in their classrooms.
And yeah, and I'm going to send a copy of the slides.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recorder.
Mm.